All right, welcome. Today we are going to crack a code. We're solving the puzzle of rational functions, and we're going to turn what looks like total mathematical chaos into something that's actually predictable and, dare I say, kind of elegant. Let's dive right in.
I mean, just take a look at this thing. This is the graph of a rational function. It's got curves, it breaks apart in the middle, it seems to shoot off to infinity. How in the world are we supposed to predict this kind of behavior just by looking at an equation? Well, that's the puzzle we're here to solve together.
Okay, so to even begin tackling this, we need the right tools. And our very first tool is all about the fundamental rules of the road for this journey. We have to understand inequalities.
And right away, this is a really key shift in how you have to think. You see, when you solve an equation, you're hunting for a single specific answer, right? Like x equals 3. Boom, done. But with an inequality, nope. We're looking for an entire range of values, like every single number that's less than 3. We're defining a whole territory here, not just one specific spot. Now, most of the algebra rules you know still apply, but there is one giant, flashing red light exception that you absolutely have to remember. And it's this. If you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, you have got to flip that sign around. Seriously, forgetting this one little thing will completely wreck your answer. It's the golden rule here. All right, tool number 1 is down. Let's grab our second tool. If inequalities are the rules of the road, then a function's zeros, well, those are the key landmarks on our map. So what are we even talking about with a zero or a root? It's super simple, really. It's just any value of x that makes the whole function spit out a 0. Think of it like this. These are the only spots where the graph is even allowed to touch or cross that main horizontal x-axis. They're like anchor points for the entire graph. And finding these landmarks isn't just a random guess. No, there's a system. First, you get the equation set to 0. Then, you use this cool thing called the rational root theorem to get a list of possible answers. Once you find one that works, you divide it out, which makes the problem simpler, and you just repeat that process until you're left with a basic quadratic that you already know how to solve. It's all about breaking a big, scary problem down into small, easy pieces. And this is why that theorem is such a game changer. You just take the factors of the constant term, the number without an x, and divide them by the factors of the very first coefficient. And just like that, the rational root theorem gives you a short, manageable list of possible roots. It takes an infinite number of possibilities and narrows it down to just a handful. It's a massive shortcut. Okay, we've got the basics down. Now we get to the main event. Our third tool is what lets us navigate the really weird and interesting new territory of rational functions. The ones that involve division. So what is a rational function? Well, it's really just a fraction where both the top part, the numerator, and the bottom part, the denominator, are polynomials. And all that wild behavior we saw in that first graph, it all comes from the push and pull, the tug of war between what's happening on top and what's happening on the bottom. Okay, so we all know dividing by 0 is the big no-no in math, right? It breaks things. And on a graph, it literally creates a break. But there are actually two types of breaks. If a factor on the bottom also shows up on top, they cancel each other out, leaving just a tiny single-point hole in the graph. But if that factor on the bottom doesn't cancel, that's when you get a vertical asymptote. It's like an invisible electric fence the graph gets really, really close to, but can never, ever touch. And this right here reveals an incredibly powerful connection. The zeros of a function, the places it hits the x-axis, they literally become the vertical asymptotes when you flip that function upside down. Where the original was 0, its reciprocal goes haywire and shoots off to infinity. Let's make this super concrete. Take the function x squared minus 4. Its zeros are at -2 and +2, right? Now look what happens when we take its reciprocal, 1 over x squared minus 4. At those exact same spots, x equals -2 and x equals 2, the new function has vertical asymptotes. See that? The behavior is completely inverted. Okay, we've gathered our tools, we've got our rules, our landmarks, our navigation skills. It is time for the master strategy. Let's put everything we've just learned to work and solve a problem from start to finish. And here it is. This is our challenge. We need to find all the values of x that make this whole fraction thingy less than 0. So, negative. Now, I know it looks a little intimidating, but with our new toolkit, we can totally handle this. So first things first, we need to find our critical points, the landmarks that define everything. We've got the zeros, which come from the numerator. That's at x equals 4 and x equals -3. And then we have our vertical asymptote, which comes from the denominator. That's at x equals 0. So these 3 points, -3, 0, and 4, they slice our entire number line up into different zones.
And now for the master tool, the sign chart. This is how we organize everything. We take each of those zones we just created and we test the sign. Is it positive or negative for each individual piece of our function? Once we know the sign of each little factor, we can just multiply them together to figure out the overall sign of the entire function in that specific zone.
And look at that, this brings us right back to the original question. Remember, we wanted to know where the function was less than 0. In other words, where it's negative. And our sign chart tells us exactly which zones have that final negative sign.
And there you have it. That's our final answer. The inequality is true in 2 separate regions. Everything from -infinity up to -3, and the little slice between 0 and 4. We did it. Puzzle solved.
So we made it through, we navigated that chaotic-looking graph. Let's just take a quick step back and think about what this all really means. We've actually learned how to read the hidden code inside the curve. Just think about the powerful mathematical toolkit we've put together. We've got the inequality rules, don't forget to flip that sign. We know how to find the zeros, our landmarks. We can navigate the new terrain of asymptotes and holes. And we have the sign chart, our master strategy for putting it all together. And that's because, this is the real secret of algebra. It's not just about finding x, it's so much more than that. It's a language. It's a language for describing behavior, for predicting where things are going, and for understanding the hidden rules that shape all kinds of complex systems, way beyond just a graph on a page.
Which brings me to my final thought for you. If a little bit of algebra can let us predict and read the hidden code of a curve like this, what else out there in the world has a code that we can learn to read?